Hello there, and welcome to Unleash the Network, a podcast that aims to educate and inspire our listeners by sharing stories from Mastercard Foundation scholars and African Leadership Academy alumni who have gone on to make a positive impact in their communities and promote values of leadership, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Aniaba, thank you for joining me, brother.
Thank you for having me, man.
It's been a minute. How have you been?
Hey, man, this is summertime. Just finished sophomore year at Morehouse College. Just waiting for my internship to start, but I've been good. I've been taking care of myself, working on a couple of projects, and always getting busy. But we're good.
I remember the first time we met, you're speaking, French only, and then you had to, learn in English. And I can imagine what an experience that was for you during the academy.
Hey, man, my first, I would say, barrier I faced at ALA was the language barrier, right? I knew some basics, right? I was not just going for the adventure. I knew some basics. Took English in high school, but there's academic English and then real life, right? And so ALA helped me in many ways, but the first struggle, the first barrier I faced was a language barrier, and I think it took a lot of open-mindedness. It took a lot of courage. It took a lot of boldness to make it happen. But I'm glad to now say that I'm bilingual. Now I speak two languages, and it helps me, networking, having people like you, like friends and stuff like that. But ALA was that for me. The first challenge, man, that was the language barrier.
Imagining that, you have to learn in a language that you're not fluent in or you're not used to, using it as the medium of instruction, that could be quite challenging. After ALA, you took a gap year, something that a lot of students are usually afraid of doing.
Oh yeah, the gap year was scary, right? So, graduated 2020. So ALA like to say, we're class of 2018. So I guess I got to claim that. So class of 2018, graduated 2020, and I took a gap semester first. Got into Morehouse, but I took a gap semester because money was not there. So financially, I was not fit. So I took some time just reorganizing my life, and then after the first gap semester, I was like, "Hey, man, we need one more semester to figure this thing, and then figure this thing out." So then I went back home to Ivory Coast and continued my process. And in the middle of that was when I actually realized what I was passionate about, which is storytelling. Uh, and so it took that time working on myself for that gap year to be this transformational. I always say, don't run away from being alone, because you figure out a lot of your values, foundations, and ambitions while you nurture yourself off camera, off social media, and stuff like that. So the gap year was really transformative for me. And then here I am at Morehouse College, rising junior, and yeah.
Given that you're taking a gap year, do you think there's something that people miss when they go from high school straight to college?
I would say it really depends. For me, beyond the money aspect, beyond me not having the means to afford a Morehouse College education, there's a lot of things that I needed to figure out. Passion, and I also had to reassess the whole ALA experience, right? ALA is 2 years, but you get exposed to so much within these 2 years, right? And so I had to take a break, analyze, do a SWOT, or do a self assessment, what went right, what went wrong, areas of improvement, and it actually gave me the courage to kick it off on a great note at Morehouse in my first year. So I think the gap year is great if you have a lot of things to figure it out, uh, and then always have a plan. We're just talking about how Thomas Edison said, uh, "Vision without execution is mere hallucination," right? And so having a plan and a plan to execute is also important beyond having ideas and ideals, right? And so the gap year for me was the time for proving to myself that I was able to make change happen outside of the ALA cushions, right? Outside of the resources from SCP we get at ALA, we all have to be in a student enterprise project. And so you get money and stuff like that. You get an ecosystem that works for you. But outside of these gates, what can you do? And so for me, I had to really bring all of that knowledge, theoretical knowledge, to a more practical sense. I work with the Ivorian government. I was really active back home, and yeah, so a lot of projects kicked off in this time. Yeah.
And I agree with you. It's also partly an opportunity for you to really sit down and reflect on what you've been learning for the past few years and also figure out what you want to do. And you said, you figured out that your passion was storytelling. Did that in a way influence what you're going to study in college?
Yeah, so I'm majoring in economics, right? But if you talk to me, and a lot of people never figure out my major after talking to me because they're like, "How are you an econ major?" When I tell them, I think I've been able to nurture the storyteller in me, but also the social scientist or whatever you want to call that in me. And so econ for me has always been something that I wanted to master to better understand the world. Uh, I actually now fall more between politics and economics, and so I'm looking more at political economics. But I think it helps me understand the world, right? And so storytelling now is just something that I can do when I wake up at 2 a.m. or on a vacation. Something that I always do. We're always telling stories, and everybody's a storyteller. But there's strategic storytelling, right? Now we're exploring podcasting. Right? Podcast is the new flavor right now, right? But I learned that through my gap year. And when you figure things out and you go to college, you're able to use your institution as an asset, right? If you don't have it figured out, at least on the basic level, you're not going to optimize on the resources available. And so figuring out that I was passionate about storytelling, coming to Morehouse, the sky was the limit, man. I've been able to identify ways to connect the dots, ways to collaborate with Morehouse to nurture my passion for storytelling as an economics major.
I hear a lot of people who are doing economics saying that economics helps them understand the world. So it's also fascinating to hear that from you too.
I think when you look at the key areas in life that shape society, you got to look at arts, of course. You got to look at science. You also got to look at politics and governance and policies and stuff like that. So for me, I had to choose one field, and I realized that a lot of what's going on the continent, coming from Ivory Coast, first producer of cocoa, right? So Ivory Coast and Ghana single-handedly produce more than 60% of the world global cocoa. Contribute to 60% of the whole production of cocoa in the world, right? And so for me, coming from Ivory Coast, there were so many things that I had read in books about the strengths that we have as a country. But learning econs and looking at how can I apply that to the realities of the country was even more empowering. And so if you can always direct your goals towards a cause that matters, that's bigger than you, I think that's the sweet spot. If you can learn data science and then apply data science to the Western Tanzanian political state or whatever, that's going to be a more fulfilling orientation. And so I always say we always find more meaning when we direct our goals towards people and causes that are bigger than ourselves. But econ definitely allowed me to better understand policies, better understand systems, right? And so, as I was saying, political economics, it's really at the intersection. It's an interdisciplinary field at the intersection of politics and econ. Because look at the current state of Ivory Coast. Right now, everything is smooth. But in 2011, I remember clearly the crisis going on back home. And so I was heavily influenced by the quality of the politics and heavily influenced by the quality of economics. We still have a foreign currency, I would say. We're still under, I would say, what's the new term? Economic slavery or whatever you want to call it. We look at our relationship with friends that looks like paternalism, right? And so econ is important. Econ is important.
Would I be correct to assume that right now you're working towards finding an intersection between political economics and storytelling?
Oh yeah. I think I'm looking at, in the long term, of course, I'm looking at producing content, media, films, documentaries that tell the stories, right? And so it's also important to find that unifying narrative. And for me, with a storytelling background, econ background, unifying both and finding avenues to make that happen. So of course, I'm looking at how can we inform people, because education is the root, right? Education is the basis. So look at ALA, right? ALA is giving African people a breath of a Pan-African revolution through education. And so looking at education, looking at curricula, I'm passionate about finding ways to educate people, to give them the stories that they need to have more clarity on the current state of affairs. And there's so much, I can even think of at ALA and LC, I don't know, probably humility or diversity, one of the rooms we're watching Sankara, right? And stuff like that. And so storytelling plays a huge role in how we educate our people. So it's definitely something on my heart.
I couldn't agree more. Storytelling plays a huge role in how we educate our people. What type of projects should we be expecting from you?
Hey man, I think it will be fair to also say that I might have to stop creating new things. Currently I'm the founding director of the Pan-African Alliance of Young Entrepreneurs, and so like you can see my pen here. That's what I'm representing. So it's called Pay. It's actually 90% of Pay is ALA alums. You are a member of Pay. Unchang is a member of Pay. Emmanuel from class of 2017 is a member of Pay. Binta is a member of Pay. Takshil is a member of Pay. We got so many. Manu from Kenya is a member of Pay. So Pay is a network that we're putting together because we realize that entrepreneurs on the continent need access to resources, expertise, mentorship, and funds, right? And so how can we circulate knowledge and opportunities with what we have? I'm based in Atlanta, I'm based in the US. Benedict is based in Japan, right? We got someone in South Africa. How do we bring together our individual networks and opportunities to benefit the whole, right? And so I also realized that after leaving ALA, there was less of a sense of a community. And so, of course, this is beyond ALA. You don't have to be an ALA alum or ALA student to participate. But that's one thing on my heart. And we launched it in 2021 during my gap year, actually. I have some great news that I'm not going to share totally, but we have some great news coming when it comes to ALA students with the Pan-African Alliance of Young Entrepreneurs. One more thing that I'm working on is a design agency. So we build websites and apps. I've been working on this project with Emmanuel Murairi. You guys should know him. And so that's what we do. We just build websites and apps. We're a for-profit business, and Pay is a nonprofit. Currently, I'm working on launching my podcast. That's why people see this kind of technical setup. It's a podcast called Nomadic Tapes, The Eternal Passenger, where I engage with individuals who travel the world and share their stories. And then finally, that's the last thing I would say, is a media that I'm launching called 45 Degree Leadership. And 45 Degree Leadership is a media / podcast. But the goal is to engage with individuals who are vertically successful, but are horizontally driven. And so the 45 degree is in the middle. Because what happens is we're producing people that are vertically successful, but they don't have a horizontal agenda. So the 45 degree leaders are individuals who are giving back to their communities after attaining a great level of success for themselves. I'll be talking to individuals like Ambassador Andrew Young. I'll be talking to individuals like Raphael Warnock in the long term, and all these great leaders who are shaping the US currently, because that's where I'm based, but also to tell people the stories behind the glories. A lot of the times we don't see the challenges that go behind making Nelson Mandela. We don't see the challenges behind making Thomas Sankara. So telling the stories behind the glories is important. And so with that project, it's really to engage with the GOATs, man.
These are lots of powerful and interesting projects that you've been working on. And I mean, seems like, you're trying to work with young people to empower them and inspire them, and also create channels for them to be able to do what they want to do, right? And give them the resources to be able to do that too. For your podcasts, for Pan-African Alliance of Young Entrepreneurs, for 45 Degree Leadership, where can our audience follow you on all these projects?
I would say the best way to stay in touch, I would say two things: social media and my website. My website is the main avenue. aniabajb.com, aniabajb.com. That's my website. And I'm on LinkedIn, Aniaba Jean-Baptiste, everywhere. Facebook. I'm not really on Facebook, but LinkedIn and Instagram. But I would say if you want to have a broader scope of my works, my website, aniabajb.com, will be the right destination.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a young entrepreneur or a young person interested in leadership, I mean, I think you should definitely be checking out those sites. I mean, because sounds like, you're doing a lot of work on that side of things, and good luck and looking forward to what the future holds.
Thank you. Appreciate it.